And we are live. What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson, today joined by my co-host, Collin. We're back for a second time today. Me and Anthony posted a video earlier this afternoon about Peter Laviolette, so be sure to check that one out after the game's over because we're going to be sitting here chatting up a storm for the next hour or so, leading up until game time. But while we let the chat fill up a little bit, everyone joining us, any questions or comments you have, be sure to leave them down and we'll talk about it. But Collin, how are you doing today, my friend?
Good. I'm real tired. I had a long weekend in Nashville. Got to a Predators game, sat right behind the penalty box. Got a picture of Philip Forsberg. Got a bunch of merch. It was crazy weekend.
I didn't know you got a picture with Forsberg. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
It's good to be back though.
yeah, we got some fans in here. Pavel says, "Howdy, boys. Welcome back." I know a returning viewer when I see it. But yeah, we're heading up against the Winnipeg Jets tonight. Hopefully, we'll finish off the road trip with 0 losses. Rangers are currently on a 4-game win streak, looking to make it 5 tonight until they go back to being at home on Thursday, I believe it is, against Carolina. But Collin, headed into this game, you got some fans in the chat as always.
Hey.
What are you looking forward to most this game, and what are your expectations?
Going into this game, I think we talked about it earlier in the group chat. This would be the first time in franchise history that the team could win all 5 games in a road trip spanning of 5 games or more. So that'd be impressive to see. I'd love to see it. I think the Winnipeg Jets are a very beatable team. I think they have a solid goaltender and some really good offense, but I think their defensive core is lacking a little bit. I think the Rangers should be able to capitalize on that. I'm looking for a big Blake Wheeler revenge game tonight. I'm hoping.
Yeah. I mean, if there's any game that Wheeler could shut me up and get me off his back, it would be if he scores against his old team. This is also Jacob Trouba's old team. Let's never forget that. That's why on the thumbnail of this video, I made sure to put Blake Wheeler down because he is making a return to Winnipeg for the first time since being he was bought out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, since being bought out. So I don't know. I do think that the Jets are beatable. It is important that the Rangers don't underestimate them, though. I believe they're 4-3-1. They have 9 points, third in the Central Division. So not as high up in the standings as the Rangers, but the Jets could put on a little bit of a show if we let them. So it's going to be very important that we play some good defense and some good offense, which, speaking of the offense, we would like to extend a loving happy birthday to our favorite, Artemi Panarin. He's at least my favorite.
Yes,
I don't have my Panarin jersey on because it's cursed. Every time I wear it, we lose. So even though it's his birthday, I'm still just riding with Capo Caco today. I'm hoping he has a big game. He's, Caco of the kids, he has the least amount of points. He's looked good, but he hasn't scored, Collin. So while we wait for more people to join the chat, what are your thoughts on Caco so far this season?
Again, it's so hard to really comment on anything just because it's so early and everybody's still finding their footing. I'm a little concerned. I thought he'd have a couple more points by now. But Zibanejad's also kind of gotten off to a little bit of a slow start. A lot of his points are on the power play, things like that, or the penalty kill. And Kreider, I mean, he's the power play merchant when it comes to scoring goals. So, I'm not too concerned. I think once that first line really gets going, I think it'll be better. I think that they're off to a little bit of a slower start as compared to that second line. But I think he'll turn it around. Like I said, like I always say, the season's so young and there's so much time for him to turn it around.
Yeah,
so.
It is still early, and I like how you mentioned Zibanejad just got his first goal of the season last game. Kreider has really only scored on the power play, I think. I don't know exactly how many even strength goals he's even managed to put up.
I know he's got a couple shorthanded too, maybe 1 or 2. I'm not sure.
But points wise, when it's the 3 of them together on the ice, like Kakko, Zibanejad, Kreider, there's probably not really that many. So, Zibanejad and Kreider get lucky with that power play time. Kakko gets it on the second power play, but that's only found the back of the net once or twice this season so far, I think. Which I know in practice today, Blake Wheeler was back on that second power play. He started the season on it, got booted, but now he's back. And I know Eric Gustafson is on that as well. So I think with all of the kids. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Roger,
I love all the kids line. The kid second power play. What was it? It was like Cooley, Loff, Hedl, Kakko, and then Gustafson up top.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Roderick's back. He's not able to comment, though. That's such a shame, Roderick. I love hearing your thoughts and comments, as I do with all of our fans. So be sure to drop any questions or comments down below. The chat's going a little slow right now.
All right, it'll pick up. It'll pick up.
Of course. We're still an hour and a half away from game time. We're doing this one a little early because me and Collin both have to travel to our locations to get to the game. Can't end it at 7:25 like we usually do.
I always puck drop. It's worth it for the fans, but I prefer not to.
I always like to make opening puck drop. Yeah. Even though you got to travel farther than me, I got to go all the way just to the couch. Roger's going through boxes. Hey, man, it's all good. As long as you're here just taking a listen, that's really all that matters. But, Collin, you look at the Jets, right? I'm going to pull up their lineup because at this point in time, the Jets, their record is solid, but I don't even know who they have as, offensive weapons anymore.
Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele are always two big guys. Neil Pionk and Adam Lowry on the defensive end of it are always poised to score. Morgan Barron, former Rangers prospect, he's not terrible. But off the top of my head, those are the big names.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. They do have some weapons here. Scheifele, Connor, they could very easily put up some goals against us. Neil Pionk, obviously a great offensive defenseman, as we saw when he was with the Rangers for a little bit until we shipped him off. John here with asking us about the tragedy. Adam Johnson. Yes, I think you put it the best way. It was a tragic incident. May he rest in peace, and our thoughts go out to him and his family. Definitely one of those scary incidents in hockey where it could always happen. It rarely does, but when it does get scary.
Yeah, such a freak accident, really. I mean, the last time I can recall seeing anything like it, I mean, there might have been some after that, but the last one that comes to memory for me is the goalie. I'm not sure who it was. I just remember
it was on the Sabres, I believe. Right?
Yeah, I know that, and I know the trainer ended up saving his life by making a tourniquet with the towel. You hate to see it. It's a damn shame. And hopefully, his family is doing all right. Obviously, hopes and prayers out to them.
Yes, of course, but I don't want to dwell on that too much. I don't want to get too depressing heading into tonight's game, but that is our official statement on that matter. But yeah, we're talking about the Jets, right? I'm looking at their lineup. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, even Nikolai Ehlers.
I forget about him.
Pretty good too. That second line, Cole Perfetti, he's all right. The Nemesnikov, all right.
They have Nemesnikov?
Yeah, Vladislav Nemesnikov.
Oh, I didn't know he was there. He's bounced around the league. I thought he was back with the Lightning.
I didn't know he was here either. Alex Iafallo is on the Jets now as well. But then you're kind of right. You look at this defense; they are lacking a little bit. Josh Morrissey's decent. Neil Pionk's decent. They have Brendan Dillon, Dylan DeMello. I've never heard of him. Dylan Sandberg, Nate Schmidt. Nate Schmidt's pretty good, but I think he's a little old.
Their decor isn't that bad. I know Morrissey actually was in the conversation for the Norris last year. I forgot about him.
Was he?
Yeah. Is Lowry a forward or a defenseman? I always get him mixed up. I think I got him mixed up with Morrissey.
Lowry is not on the defense. So yeah, he's their third line center.
Yeah, I always mix them up.
Yeah. Francesca's here in the chat. She says, how do you think the arena receives Blake Wheeler tonight? I'm going to assume it's not going to be the most welcoming. I'm sure they'll do a little tribute for him and the fans will clap and everything during that. But for the most part, and a former captain he had his captaincy stripped, right? Collin,
yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah. And then was bought out. Now he's in New York and he's not playing well. I could see the fans booing him every once in a while when he touches the puck, but I'm honestly not sure. I don't know too much about all that drama with him and his captaincy and it getting revoked, but I'm assuming if that happened and then he was bought out, the fans probably don't hold too much they don't hold anything against him. Big Bug Fuzz here says he's going to get a standing ovation. I would assume so during the tribute because I'm going to have to assume there's a tribute that is going to be played. But then after that, I feel like it's just back to regular hockey. I'm not even sure.
I don't know. You look at a player like Wheeler. He was the longest tenured captain for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, he's been there since they were the Atlanta Thrashers. He leads the franchise in points. I'd be hard to see him not received well by Winnipeg. I think that they'll welcome him back with the open arms, give him the standing O. I don't think there's any ill will there. I think the stripping of the captaincy was simply a coaching thing. I think that they felt that he had lost the locker room a little bit. And and I think that they were looking to go a different direction with it, with a new leadership group.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just the route they decided to go. I also think that the buyout was necessary in their eyes just because he was getting up there in age. They were sensing some regression possibly. And like I said, they just needed some fresh faces in the locker room, and they wanted to give him the best opportunity to go wherever he thought he needed to go to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Bugfuzz does agree. He said standing O, then he gets booed after. I'm just going to have to assume that that's exactly what would happen. I don't know. You broke down like the history and the lore of everything that's going on with him a lot more than I ever knew. Francesca says that she hopes he gets a goal tonight. I do too. I've been very critical on Wheeler. He's not the best, but I hope I'm wrong. I think it was either last game or 2 games ago, he like almost scored, and I got really excited. And I was like, yes, I get to be wrong. But nope, I hate being right as often as I am. But we got a couple more people moving in here and getting into the chat. So welcome, to everyone who's just joining us now, welcome. Don't be afraid to leave any questions or comments that you want us to discuss in the active chat. If he does, do they cheer him or boo? I think if Wheeler scores, it's going to be neither, because they're getting scored on. That's like if the Rangers were to trade like Chris Kreider away, and then the next time he comes to New York, he just like starts scoring against us. I'm not going to be like, boo, I hate you, Kreider. But I'm also not going to be like, good for you. Glad you still have it going.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't see them cheering. I don't think they'll boo. Like I said, I think that the fans respect him and everything he did for the franchise for as long as he did. I think some of their most positive memories are with him at the captain spot. Mm-hmm. And he scored some big goals and got some big points in those playoff runs, those deep playoff runs. So, I don't think he was there for a long, long time. I'm not sure exactly how long, but he was there for a long time. He played with Boston before and then went to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta to Winnipeg when they made the move there. But, I don't see them cheering for sure, especially if their team's getting scored on.
Yeah, Bugfuzz thinks that he was there for 17 years. I don't know. I was 5 years old when that happened then. I wasn't watching hockey at the time. But I think if there's any returning player going to Winnipeg tonight that will get booed, I think it would be Jacob Trouba, if anyone. No one likes Trouba besides Ranger fans.
Yeah, that's true. I can see that.
Roderick, even though he said he wasn't going to comment, drops a paragraph. He was at Rick Nash. He was at Rick Nash's homecoming. It was well received, with the exception of Sergei Bobrovsky taking chip shots at him and the crowd not realizing it. I think it's different if it's like a goalie just like playing around, just chirping them and stuff. But I didn't get to watch the game, so I'm not sure how it used to be. Francesca thinks that it was 12 years with Winnipeg. 17 sounds like a really long time. I don't know, but it was a long time. I think 12 sounds more realistic, but we will see. Pavel says he's going to play lights out against his old team and finally score a goal. I hope so. This is like, I feel like every time that we live stream, I need to just go down this like extremely deep Blake Wheeler rabbit hole where I'm just saying how much I dislike him and how bad he is for like 20 minutes every time we do this. And I don't want to have this conversation with you guys. I want the next one to be like, yay, he scored a goal.
When I saw who was on the docket for tonight, and I saw it was Winnipeg, I was like, uh-oh. Because I knew people were going to be asking about Wheeler, and I knew what you were going to say.
Of course.
I'm hoping he scores that goal tonight. That would be great. I think that would be a boost of confidence, maybe the boost of confidence that he needs to get going and spark a fire under himself.
And it's not even just a goal, like even like an assist or just a good defensive play or something, like he's not the only current player on the Rangers that doesn't have a point. Like Nick Bonino hasn't scored a point yet either, but I'm not going to complain about him because he wins faceoffs. He's great on the penalty kill. He makes good defensive plays. And like, sure, would it be nice to have him score some points? Yeah, but I'm not going to be going for his head like Wheeler does, because it kind of just seems like Wheeler just skates in circles and just has no idea what's going on. But I don't know. Someone's got to comment something about something other than Blake Wheeler. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole any further. But on the topic of goaltenders, right? I'm gonna have to assume that Connor Hellebuck is starting for Winnipeg.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not entirely sure, actually. I can
Yeah,
check
if you want to double check that, you can. I just know that the Rangers, we're not going to know for like another hour because Laviolette chooses not to announce who the starting goaltender is until like right before puck drop. So I'm going to assume that it's Igor versus Hellebuck, but who knows? Quick has been playing really good. Igor just played, maybe let Quick finish off the road trip and then get Igor back in at home. But then there's like a 3-day break. So I feel like why wouldn't it be Shesterkin?
I say, looking at this here, neither have been confirmed yet, but they are both listed as likely. In Shesterkin and Hellebuck being the starters tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. All right. Last thing I'm going to pull up about Wheeler. In an interview yesterday, he said he felt lost for the first 5 games, but is getting it back.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's the case. I think that's one of the big things that we fail to recognize a lot is that he is playing on a new team for the first time in a really long time. New coach, new players, new environment. Things are going to be a little tough to get adjusted to. We gave all that leniency to Kakko when he came over from Finland and all these other players when they get traded. But we've been a little harsh on Wheeler. I will admit that. But it has been 5 games. I'm glad that he's confident because if he doesn't get something started soon, then I'll feel a little lost again, just like he did. But yeah, I don't know. Like at this point, I hope he's back, that he's getting it back. But words can only mean so much. I need to see these words put into action and see him score at least an assist, maybe a goal tonight.
Well,
But
hopefully, I will see that translate over. I do think that it plays a big role of the new system and the new coaching. I also think playing in arguably the biggest market. I've said this for everybody that we've talked about development-wise, whether it's Lafreniere or Hedel or Kakko or Miller, or for the last decade, it seems. I've been saying this. New York is probably one of, if not the biggest market to play in. And with that comes a ton of stress, especially if you feel that you're underperforming. You saw it with Panarin. Obviously, he's not underperforming, but even after the past 2 postseasons, he struggled with confidence issues. I know him and Drury had a little bit of a headbutting after the series against the Lightning. But it's not even just this. You look at Giancarlo Stanton with the Yankees, big name, big bat brought over, struggles. It's the pressure of playing in New York, and it can really get to you. And it's about how you can face that adversity and build off of it, and hopefully, not let it consume you. I think Panarin's doing a good job of bouncing back from that adversity by starting off this season by scoring in every single game so far. And I think Wheeler still has a lot of time left to prove all the naysayers wrong, fight that adversity, and come out on top, and have his time remembered as good here in the Big Apple.
That's what everyone's hoping for. Francesca's back with another update on that goaltender situation. Molly Walker, who is a very reputable source, posted that Igor Shesterkin was the first goalie off at morning skate today, indicating that he'll get the starting nod tonight. So Igor more than likely going to be in that. I say that pretty much guarantees it right there. Igor versus Hellebuck, both incredible goaltenders. If I'm being completely honest, though, I'm not going to say Igor has been bad this season because he hasn't, but I still feel like we've seen a lot better from him. He's letting in like a little bit more goals than usual. You can blame that on a lot of factors. Maybe it's not his fault. Maybe it's the defense, the teams that we're playing against, the new system. But like I said, he's not bad, but I feel like this just isn't the same Igor that we've been used to. And I'm wondering if you have been seeing the same thing, or am I just like overthinking this whole thing?
I think he's struggled a little bit out the gate, but luckily for us, struggling for Igor is still most goalies' best level of play. He's allowed to have a couple off games, let in a couple muffins here and there. I think that the defense kind of leaves him out to dry every once in a while. So they're not all his fault for sure. But I think that there's definitely a couple that he wants back. But I think that we've been getting the wins when it matters, and I think that he'll turn it around and return to elite level play. I think he's just a little bit under that so far. But like I said, it's not costing us anything. He will continue to win us games and play in the upper echelon of goalies. We're not seeing him at the same level as we did in that postseason run 2 years ago, or even last year when he was phenomenal. But I mean, you can look back to last season too. He struggled for a stretch of games, and he was just fine, still finishing around like a 9-15 save percentage, which is elite. I'd say anything above 9-15 is elite. So
Yeah, I mean, you look at last game where I think was a perfect example of Shesterkin so far this season, where we're in overtime and he's making that like incredible diving like glove save on the ice to keep the Rangers in the game, and we ultimately end up going to win it shortly after that. So he's like keeping us in games and he's stealing us wins, but at the same time, it's like he let in 3 goals to get us to that point. So it's like that's not like him. That's like it's so selfish of us as Ranger fans to be complaining about stuff like this because, like you said, even when he's not at his best, his bad games are still other goalies' like best performances of their careers. But I don't know. Francesca does say it's early, but I haven't felt as confident so far this season. I think I fully agree. It is still early. I am still confident in the whole team as well, not even just Shesterkin, but just with Shesterkin in particular, something does seem a little off. Pavel has a hot take here. Says he would go with Quick tonight and see how he does after the last game's shutout. I'm assuming you mean. I know Quick has looked really good, 2-0, has 1 shutout so far this season, but I think at this point you got to start giving Igor those starts. If he is looking a little shaky, a little rocky, just get him in these games. Winnipeg, although they're 4-3-1, we faced better opponents. We're going to face better opponents in the future. And then after tonight, we don't play for another 3 days until Carolina back at home. So in my opinion, I think this is the opportunity where you say, go out there and have fun, Igor. Go get back in the saddle, and we'll move on from there. But Collin, I'm sure you agree, but would you have started Shesterkin or Quick if you were the coach?
I don't know. Honestly, right now we're lucky to have that conversation with every start. Either one can go because Quick has looked that good so far. I know we're only 2 games in, but he's looked solid. I thought he's looked very good in both wins, only letting up a goal combined in the 2 against not bad teams. Like he played 2 solid squads.
The Oilers were pretty incredible. They didn't have McDavid, but they still had Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins just showing and the team.
Yeah. They're a star-studded lineup, and I mean the Kraken made a deeper run in the playoffs for them, and they're just an incredibly deep team. They got a 40-goal scorer, a bunch of young up-and-coming players. They're solid, and for him to play the way that he did at the first 2, I'm comfortable in saying that I'd be okay with either. That being said, I think that they would. I would probably give it to Shesterkin, like you said, to let him kind of get into a groove and find his confidence. And then once he does, then you can start resting him a little bit. Once he's at the top of his game, I think that the season is just starting, as we've said now with every player that we've talked about. So, it's going to take him a minute to find his footing, especially new system, new coach, and a couple of new teammates. So the communication's got to get to where it was last season. I think that they will get there. I think it's just growing pains. I think that's what you can really put everything on, whether it's Kakko's lack of points, Wheeler's lack of points, Shesterkin's low-key shaky start, which even really hasn't even been that bad. It's all just growing pains. I think that the only thing that you can't put on growing pains is Barclay Goodrow's play. I just think that he is a black hole, very reminiscent of watching Ryan Reeves skate around out there. He doesn't really bring anything offensively. And then he doesn't do anything defensively, in my opinion, anymore. I think he's lacked his skating has been a little bit slower. I feel like he's just a step behind. And I was reading an article on Bleacher Report, and it was saying that one of the Rangers' biggest mistakes of the offseason was not moving Goodrow, and I couldn't agree more. Now I get it's tough to move a deal like that, but I feel like you got to give it a shot. Package it with some picks, some sweeteners, and get it off the books. Give ourselves a little bit of flexibility with the cap instead of having our backs up against the wall for what feels like the 10th straight season, even though I know it obviously hasn't been that long. But with the cap, again, not looking to go up. I think it's supposed to go up $1 million this offseason and then return to the steady progression that it was at prior to COVID. I think that it puts us in a really bad spot, and I think it has 4 years left on it. It's just going to get harder to move the older he gets because his play is just going to get worse and worse.
Yeah, Goudreau has been really bad this season. We haven't even talked about him that much too, just because like I kind of expected him to be bad. It's not like Wheeler where we're a little surprised that he's like not putting up a point just yet. But I don't know. If I'm Jury, I agree. I'm trying to move Goudreau as quickly as possible. Yeah, I think you're right. He is tenured for another 4 years at 3.6. That's going to age so horribly. It already has aged horribly, and it's only going to get worse. So even if you need to like retain half of that salary and you just get like a draft pick in return, I'm still taking it because I'd rather pay like 1.8 for nothing rather than 3.6 for nothing. It's like, so
it's been brutal. Somebody just asked if he has a no move. I'm pulling that up right now. Let's see. Barclay Goudreau. He has a modified no move. It's a 15-team no trade list.
Okay.
Which makes it harder.
There are 17 teams you can go to then.
Yeah, but I feel like teams would be willing to just eat that cap. I feel like there's a lot of teams that are in the in that win now phase who might want to add a guy like that to their bottom six, and maybe he'll work better for them. I'm sure the Lightning would even be interested in reacquiring him for that price point. That's the struggle. I knew that deal was going to be so bad the second they signed it. I think I talked about it in a previous episode. It's like he just walked in there with no negotiation. He was like, I want this. And Drury was like, you can have it, and just gave it to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it was going to age poorly. There's a couple deals that he's handed out that I think aren't going to age so well. But that one is at the top of my list. He's already 30 years old. He's taking up 4.4% of the cap. It's just it's brutal having him eat that kind of hole in the cap while doing nothing in your bottom six.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of Goudreau. Get him out of here as quickly as possible. Got another comment here. With so many left-wing prospects in our system, what year do you think Kreider and Panarin will be moved? See, now this is a tough one because upon initial thought, I don't really see the Rangers moving either of them. I think Kreider is going to stay a Ranger until he retires. Panarin, he's having his best season with the Rangers so far, in my opinion, at least, other than maybe his first year. And he's still signed for another, I think, 3 or 4 seasons. So, I feel like as long as he's still producing, they're going to let that contract ride out. Unless either player kind of just falls off a cliff and starts to just be terrible. I don't see the Rangers moving either Kreider or Panarin, which makes it a little tough because you have guys like Brennan Othmann who are natural left wingers in the system and that are ready to have a breakout campaign in a rookie year, but there's just no room on that left wing to bring them up. You're not going to start Othmann on the 3rd or 4th line role where he's not getting ice time and kind of just relive that whole Lafreniere nightmare. But I'm honestly not sure. I think it would take a lot for the Rangers to move on from 2 of their best scorers. But Collin, how do you feel about it?
I think that the only way they would do that is if they fell out of contention. I think that these guys will stay Rangers, like you said, until the end of their deals. I think that that they might even get lesser extensions. Obviously, they wouldn't. They might play lesser roles and play in a bottom 6 or even a middle 6. But I can't see either of them being moved unless everything falls apart and they just fire sale. I think that it's a risky move to try and trade guys who bona fide stars, as at least I would call them, for question marks, because you move one of these guys to create a space and somebody doesn't pan out. Now you have a big hole on the left wing. So it's difficult to really say just because they're both playing at such a high level right now. But if I had to say either of them was going to be moved, it'd probably be Kreider's, because I can't see anybody eating that Panarin contract. Not without us retaining salary, and I don't think that they would want to do that. I think they'd rather just write it out. So maybe Kreider towards the end of his deal, but I'd like to think that he retires a Ranger. I mean, you never see it anymore. A player stick with one team their whole career. It's few and far between. I think the last one that I saw do it was Hank. That comes to memory, at least for the Rangers. I know that's a fact.
Hank didn't even finish his career as a Ranger. He got bought out, and then rather than retiring, he signed with Washington.
Well, technically, he finished a Ranger because he never played a game for the Capitals.
That is true.
But I understand what you're saying there.
Yeah.
And, but even Brodeur retired a Devil, came out of retirement and played meaningful game. I mean, they weren't meaningful because he was terrible, but he played games, regular season games for the St. Louis Blues, and now he's part of the St. Louis Blues management. So it's so rare that you see a player, I think, other than the superstars of the league, like Ovi and Crosby and Malkin, like guys like that who were part of that generation of players growing up. Everybody's going to move everywhere. I think that there's just no loyalty, and that's part of business.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not part of it isn't even loyalty. You know, like we live in a world where Wayne Gretzky was traded at one point. You know, like if a team gets the right deal, I think it is still a loyalty thing, but it's not even players being loyal to the franchise. It's like franchises also not being loyal to the players.
Oh,
like
it goes both ways, 100%.
Like that's kind of like how I feel about Henrik Lundqvist, where like I understand why we bought him out, but man, does it just upset me so much that we did just like disrespected him like that. Like
I don't think there's any disrespect there. I think Zuccarello thought that.
That was disrespectful
because of that. The Zook didn't want to be traded. He's mad, but he was more mad that we bought out Hank. I think that we talked to Hank and said, hey, you know, you're not. He was still solid. Like he could win games. And they asked him. They said, look, like you can stick it out, but you're probably not going to play a lot. We can't do the 3-headed goalie with you, Georgiev, and Shesterkin, and they're both going to get more playing time than you are. Would you rather us buy you out and give you an opportunity to play elsewhere? And I think it was like an amicable split where he still had the desire to play and the love for the game, and he wanted to go and put it all out there. And we wanted to afford him that opportunity as a legend who did so much for the franchise. We didn't want to hold him hostage for the last couple of years. So I think it was a mutual split. Unfortunately, he would never go on to play again because of his heart and things like that. But
sorry, I started laughing. It has nothing to do with Henrik Lundqvist. I'm actually very happy that Lundqvist is back on the ice and he's getting ready to play in that what is the Hall of Fame game. Yeah. I'm just amazed by our other co-host Will Cohen, who couldn't make it to the stream tonight, but he asks the question of the night: is Tyler Mott better all time than Wayne Gretzky? The answer, we're not even going to break it down. It's yes.
Yeah, I'd have to say yes.
We got Cheyenne here in the chat. Awesome. Doing great, guys. Thank you, Cheyenne. Then she asked the same question that everyone has asked tonight. Do we think that Wheeler will score his first point of the season tonight?
It's a good question.
I hope so, but probably not.
I think he will.
But Pavel does think that he will, which it would be nice to see. I can't lie.
Well, we need one of your parlays in the chat, man. Send us the parlay for tonight.
Francesca agrees with what we said. Would love to see Kreider stay in New York from draft to retirement. I mean, he's the longest tenured Ranger. I think his rookie season was 2013. Am I correct?
2013. It was I know he scored his first goal in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He came at the right time and he started scoring right away. But it has been a minute since he made his debut, and I've had his jersey since I think the second season that he played for the Rangers. I was hyped for him when they drafted him out of I believe it was Boston College, or one of those two. I always get them mixed up because there's so many good players that come out of both. But he's starting to reach that same level of sentiment for me that like the Derek Steppans and the Ryan Callahans, like the guys who put in the work and were there through it all. Like he joined at the peak, went through the low, and now he's gotten back to. Hopefully we haven't peaked yet, and we'll get a little bit better and bring a cup to New York. But like he's been through it all. So you know he's been loyal to the franchise. He's paid his dues, and I'd love to see him. And he's like, what is he? Is he first in power play or first in playoff goals or second in playoff goals? He's up there in playoff goals. Maybe he's playoff power play goals, but he holds a lot of records in terms of goal scoring for the Rangers. You know, so at the end of the day, I'd love to see his jersey go up in the rafters sometime.
I think it's pretty much a guarantee that one Kreider retires, whether he retires a Ranger or not, his jersey will probably go in the rafters. I'm going to have to. Maybe not yet. Maybe he needs like a cup to go with it or something. But
that'd be nice.
I think the chances of it happening are pretty high, but I don't want to say guaranteed because I don't know. That's like this same thing as if I said like Panarin made it for his like 6 years here. I don't think Panarin would have his jersey retired unless, again, he gets a couple cups, maybe a couple hearts. Will, with the parlay of the night, Wheeler, he's obviously scoring in Winnipeg. Bonino, because he's bald. And Igor Shesterkin will finally find the back of the net. Will, I'm surprised you didn't include the birthday boy, Artemi Panarin, in that parlay.
Messed up, man.
But
Panarin's point streak comes to an end because Will didn't put him in his parlay.
on his birthday, you just ruined Panarin's birthday party. Speaking of Panarin, though, we've briefly mentioned him a couple times this live stream. It is his birthday. He's 32 now, and he is looking at his best season so far, in my opinion. Not points wise because it's still early, but just because he's looked like an entirely new player. He's playing defense. He's making takeaways. He's not giving away the puck, and he looks a lot more confident. So. 8-game point streak on his birthday, heading into Winnipeg. How many points does Panarin put up tonight?
I can see 2 or 3. I'm predicting at least 1 goal. I think the way he's been shooting the puck, it's a guarantee. I'd like to see him get one tonight. I think that's a high opportunity. Scoring chances are going to generate themselves when you're playing the way that he is. He'll definitely get some assists. I can see the point streak going on again tonight, unless Connor Hellebuck just stands on his head, which he always tends to do versus the Rangers. But everybody's saying 3 points in the comments here, and I'm going to have to agree.
Very confident. Francesca, very confident.
I'm thinking a goal and 2 assists.
I'm thinking a Panarin hat trick for his birthday.
That'd be fire. You know who the last player to score a hat trick on their birthday was for the Rangers?
I don't know.
It's Pavel Buchnevich against the Devils a long time ago. When I was a sophomore in college, junior in college.
If it was a Buchnevich hat trick, that means that I watched it at some point in my life because I was a fan for his entire tenure. But, I think Panarin will have a big showing tonight. It is his birthday. Or it could also be the polar opposite because it is a Rangers player, and Rangers players never get what they want. Panarin's probably going to have like a career-ending injury tonight or something like it.
Yo, knock on wood right now. How dare you even put that out there in the universe?
I knocked on the wood.
Just
checking. Yeah, but no, I'm very hopeful about Panarin. I think that second line is really going to click tonight. Lafreniere didn't score last game, I believe, so hopefully he'll be able to bounce back. Hedl is still looking for his first goal of the season, so if that second line can really put things together and start getting on the scoreboard again. Buckfuss said kill the stream after that comment.
Buckfuss, I agree, man. I didn't condone that. He didn't tell me he was going to say that.
I knocked on wood. It's okay. But Pavel asked, what will be the final score tonight? I'm not going to reveal my answer because we like to do that at the very end, but I'll just give you a hint. It's a good one.
Well, he's not going to go out there and predict a loss, I hope.
Well, I gotta build up the anticipation.
Logan, I agree. I agree with his last one that he just put in the chat. I can see a Hedl goal tonight. I think he's been skating really well, and I think that's one of the assists that Panarin goes out there and gets. I think Phil's had a wicked wrister whole season. I think he finds the back of the net tonight on a slick pass from Panarin. That would be part of my lay if I was going to put one together.
It would be nice to see a Hedl goal. Michael's mad. I made everyone mad at me. May need to turn in your fan card after that. You guys don't understand. I'm not wishing it. It's just a curse that the Rangers have when we're asking for nice things.
Bro, we're not Jets fans. We're not New York Jets fans. Well, I am. But
it's been 30 years, Collin.
You want to talk about bad luck, dude? I saw Aaron Rodgers get 4 plays and then roll into his grave. Although he's going to come back this season, but. No, the Rangers have been lucky with health. I feel like we haven't had a lengthy health injury.
Yeah, that is again, knock on wood. But no, you're right. The Rangers have been pretty lucky injury-wise so far this season. We had a couple of the guys miss a couple games during preseason for just like getting banged up and stuff during practice. But we're about a tenth of the way through the season, and again, knock on wood. I feel like we're walking on eggshells here. Everyone seems to be doing all right. But I don't even want to potentially jinx anything anymore. So we're going to change the subject. Will claims that I'm a fake fan, says the co-host who wasn't available for the stream, but is yet sitting in the stream leaving comments. Well,
dude, that's commitment. That's commitment.
Francesca says maybe it's a Russian thing, Hattie, on your birthday. It could be. Buchnevich did it. Panarin could very well easily do it.
Will's last comment. That's funny.
Well, I gotta pull it up. I haven't seen a Giants win in person in 10 years. That's very unfortunate, Will. As a Saints fan, which is really random, I know, I can say that I've seen a Saints victory in person against Green Bay in Jacksonville. What a wild game that was.
Who leads the team in his tonight? Cooley, no doubt.
Leads the team in hits tonight. I'm going to have to go with, I think, is a more obvious answer and just say the returning player, Jacob Trouba. You know, it's his thing. He lays hits, and it's against his former team. He's the captain. I think it'd be pretty cool.
No, I think Cooley's going to go and try to get his line going, spark something. Maybe show Wheeler that he's got his back and just start leveling his old teammates.
That'd be pretty funny. It's always entertaining when Jacob Trouba's on the ice. I'm very impressed with his play so far this season. I know, Collin, you and Will are a little new around here this season, but last season when it was just me and Anthony, man, did we dog on Trouba a lot just because of how bad he was at defense. We loved the hits and the fights and everything, but I feel like his defensive play was just so bad that I couldn't fully enjoy it. But this season, his second season as captain, let me tell you, I'm loving Trouba. He's slowly but surely climbing his way up my ranks of favorite Rangers. But what are your thoughts on Trouba? You even dive into last season as well because you weren't on the channel for that. Just were me and Tony crazy?
No, you're correct. He was brutal last year, dude. He was constantly in the wrong spot, whether that be behind the net for some goddamn reason or in the penalty box. The guy was never there. So it was a struggle, but I think you can thank his resurgence and his defensive prowess rising again to Laviolette. I think that this system plays to his strengths, and I think that allows him to be the player that he's meant to be and the player that he was when he was in Winnipeg, which is that shutdown defenseman. Like he was a guy that they could put out there in any instance. And he was also a good power play quarterback. Obviously, we don't need him to do that. We just need him to go out there and play some good defense, and he's done just that this year. He's blocking a ton of shots. I know we talked about it a lot early on. I'm not sure how many he has right now, but I know that there was a point where he had 13 through the first 3 games, which is absurd. It's just taking away shots and scoring opportunities, helping out the goalies, and taking away the lanes. He also had that crazy save on the goal line. He's been playing very well, so hopefully he can keep that up.
Yeah. He has looked very, very solid so far this season. Let's see, Logan, I'm not going to pull up your comment because you're telling us to stop talking about it, but you keep commenting about it. Will showing us the Fireside Rangers love. I'm at a football game watching the live stream, supporting my 2 favorite people. Thanks, Will. We do miss you. Hopefully you'll be back tomorrow for the Halloween special that's coming out. Collin, after this ends, I got to break down the Halloween special today. Yeah. Really saving the planning for last minute, but it's a good one. Bugfuss says, what a difference a system makes. I fully agree. Laviolette has come in. Me and Tony recorded an episode earlier today about it, just a full breakdown of Laviolette, what he's been doing and the effect he's been having on the team. And I'm not going to have another 20-minute discussion about it like I did earlier this afternoon, but just briefly, my opinions on it. I love Laviolette. Gallant sucked. He didn't do anything. He kept the kids in the bottom 6. He was very hands-off. And sure, did we play well in the regular season? Yeah, but that lack of structure really bit us in the end. So having a guy like Laviolette who's working the players harder and making them provide more effort while on the ice, it's really showing off. And Collin, how do you feel about Laviolette?
I wasn't extremely excited by the signing at first. I was whelmed, is what I said, I believe, in the chats. But he's been great. He's exceeded my expectations already. I know we're early on, but we haven't had a coach like this, in terms of defensive mindedness, since Tortorella. And I mean, we took Tortorella's defense mixed with Alain Vigneault's offense, and we made a couple cup runs. So hopefully, we can be a little bit more balanced and make that push again. But I mean, the league has just been, the average goals has just climbed and climbed and climbed. So to win in this league, not only do you have to have a high-scoring offense, but you have to have a good defense. And we're lucky enough where we've seen a good offense for a majority of the past 2-3 years. And even prior to that, we had a pretty good offense too. We were deep. I mean, we had Marty St. Louis and Rick Nash. not our first lines, I'm pretty sure. I know Marty St. Louis was down there a little bit. We just have prolific scorers up and down, Hall of Famers in the future. So, but we haven't had that defense that I mentioned before. And I think that we're getting there. I think it's not there yet. There's still obviously a lot of growing that has to be done and figuring out the system. But I think that we're constantly taking steps in the right direction, and it's great to see.
Yeah, I mean, steps in the right direction are really all we can ask for until we get to the right spot and we win a Stanley Cup. Francesco agreed about Trouba. He did suck last year. We can't really make anything up about that. Michael says he had to make it for Miller, a very young defenseman, tried to do too much and failed. You're right. I'm very high on Miller. I love him. I think he's great. He had the overtime winner against Vancouver. But at the same time, especially, I think he's been better this year, but especially last year, Miller was not good defensively.
No,
he was like one of the worst defensemen we had outside of his point production. So yeah, Trouba being paired up with him, did it hold them back a little bit? Yeah, obviously they're still partners, but I think Miller, he's older now, more experienced, like smarter with the puck. And I think he's not perfect. There have definitely been a couple times this season where I've seen Miller do something and I'm like, come on. But I think overall there has been a little bit of an improvement. How do you feel about that?
I think everybody is due to have their mental lapses here and there. There's one play in particular I can recall where he just took the puck and then turned it over. Then he got it back. And I was like, oh, thank God. And then he passed it right into the slot where somebody else was waiting, like on the other team. And I was like, oh, okay. So we're just giving it back. That's cool. He's allowed to have his lapses. He wasn't even a true defenseman coming out of college. He was a forward, I believe, at Wisconsin. So, his skating is great. He's got that long reach. He's got good size. He's just got to figure out how to put it all together. I agree with what Bugfuzz just said. He's not bad for somebody who hasn't played defense for as long. But I think that there's still a lot left to be desired. I think his second year, towards the beginning, he played a very strong game. I think that he's kind of strayed a little bit from his defense and worried a little bit too much about getting the points. And yes, last year he, I think, topped out. However many points he had, it was a career high.
It was 45.
It was somewhere in that range, but it was one of his worst seasons defensively speaking. And I remember there was a stretch of like 3-4 games where he cost us some of them entirely on his own. There's one against St. Louis that I can't seem to forget where he gave the puck right to him and they went in and scored. So, he's young. I'm not bashing him to the point where I'm saying get him out the lineup. I think he's just got to focus a little bit more on the defense and let the offense do their thing. And I think Laviolette's style of play will allow him to do that. I think that Gallant was everybody joined the rush and figure it out after if we don't score. I think this will benefit him having a defensive-minded coach. I think it benefits the whole defensive corps.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're right. I think, again, Laviolette just really making everyone on the ice look better, play better, and be better. Bugfuzz did clarify when we talk about Trouba and his block shots, he may have 29, Bonino has 28. I don't have it pulled up, so for this moment, I'll take it with a grain of salt, but I'll trust you. If those are true, those are some pretty good stats right there from both players. That's why I love Bonino. He's not on the scoreboard, but he's making other great plays and stuff like that. Francesca says, I wasn't thrilled when Laviolette was hired, but he's growing on me. I will agree. I think the initial hiring, I might have had the wrong opinion at all on him, because when it was first announced, I was like, man, this is just going to be another Laviolette, an older coach with very outdated coaching styles that's going to just hurt the team. It's going to be the same thing all over again. But man, oh man, I have never been happier to be wrong. Laviolette is the complete opposite of Gallant. He's giving the young kids the opportunities, revolutionizing New York Rangers hockey and making it fast-paced, hard-hitting, this gritty, physical, aggressive stuff that we haven't seen the Rangers do in 10 years. So I'm very happy about it. Collin, I know we just had a whole discussion on Laviolette, but just how did when he was first announced that we hired him, were you happy or were you oh man?
I saw it as lateral movement. I didn't think it made us better or worse initially. Mm-hmm. Obviously, looking back, I disagree so far, everything he said, and I agree with what Francesca said about even his interviews. I feel like Terp didn't really give us a ton. But I feel like he does give us a lot more information and just he's just I don't know what he brings to the game. It's a different view than anything we've had in the past. So, it's something fresh, it's something fun, and I'm hoping that the Rangers take it and run with it.
Yeah. We got a riveting question here from my good friend Carter Alcabes. Do we think that we have been playing good on the power plays? Carter, yes, I do. The Rangers heading into tonight's game, which starts in about 40 minutes. So we will start wrapping up in about 10. But heading into tonight's game, the Rangers have a power play percentage of 34.5%, which is second best in the entire NHL. I believe our penalty kill as well is 82.1%, which is 13th in the league. So penalty kill is good, not great. Power play is elite. The only team that has a better power play than us is New Jersey, which is unfortunate because Jack Hughes has like 18 points in like 8 games or something really ridiculous.
I think that's exactly right. I think it's 18.
It's like I don't even want to comment about any further on that. And there's an alternate universe where New Jersey chose Kako first overall. But yeah, Carter, I do think the power play has looked very good. And Collin, I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, no, it's I gotta say, another thing that I was concerned about when we hired Laviolette is were the special teams going to transfer. I think Laviolette saw what Gallant was doing with the special teams and just kind of said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You guys know what you're doing out there. Just go and do it. Obviously, he's tweaked that second power play unit a little bit, and that's fine because they've also looked good, whatever tweaks and things that he's done. But he's coming from the Capitals where they had Ovi in his office, you know what I mean? So I'm sure he's familiar with how to run a coherent power play. And it's showing as the special teams on both sides, in my opinion, are staying elite. 13 is good. Obviously, we'd like to see it be a little bit better. But 2 is great. I didn't even know it was that high. So it's great to see them still clicking and firing on all cylinders. You put Mika back in his spot after taking him off in the power plays for whatever reason I'll never understand. It was one of the few adjustments that Gallant made in his entire tenure as a Ranger coach that like he stuck with for more than 30 seconds, and it was so dumb. It made no sense. You take a guy who's automatic from a spot and you give it an injured Kane and put Mika on the bumper where he's not going to do nearly as well because that's Trocheck's spot. I don't know. It baffled my mind, and I'm happy to see him back in his spot and doing his thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just another positive effect from Laviolette that we've seen. Logan kind of touches upon it too. Just think about how well we've been the last 2 seasons without a system like Laviolette's. Now we do, and if we continue to trust Laviolette's system, we will be a dominant force. You're absolutely right. 2 years ago, we made it to the conference finals within 2 games, we lost in Game 7 that year, right?
No, we lost in 6.
6, or it was 1 or 2 games away from making it to the Cup finals. I think it was Game 6.
No, right. We lost in 5. We lost in 5 because we were up 2-0 and then got reverse swept.
Oh well, no, that's 6 then.
Oh yeah, I can't do math. 6.
Yeah, all right. We like to talk about hockey, not math. We were 2 games away from the Stanley Cup Finals. Then the next year, we had an incredible season, and then just like the lack of a system really just got exploited by the Devils, and I don't want to talk about that either because I don't like to think about that series.
I was just getting out coached. That was a prime example of Gallant getting out coached. It was dominant performances in the first 2. No adjustments. Tony's calling me out for my math. No adjustments. Lindy Ruff makes a bunch of adjustments. We get beat at home in a close one. We get stomped at home. And then, we don't win again until Game 5, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we lose 6 and lose 7. It was tough.
It was something like that. I don't know.
I have no recollection. I'm just trying not to mess up on my math again.
Tony asks, what can they do to stop committing so many penalties? I mean, I feel like it's the same amount of players that are doing all the penalty taking this entire time. Collin, I know you said something really funny about, I think it was Trocheck, where it's like he goes out on the ice, draws a penalty, then he takes a penalty.
Yeah.
Like, how did it go?
So shout out to my friend Joe Panzerino. He's been in the comment section a couple times. After the last live stream I did, we went out to Dollaritas, and he went on to say that Trocheck goes out there, he takes a penalty, he draws a penalty, he hits the post, rinse and repeat. And quite literally, right after he said that, he took a penalty, came out of the box, drew a penalty. He didn't hit a post, but then he took another penalty. So you take one step out of that, but he's a polarizing player. You know what he's going to do. He's got a little bit of a schedule, as he goes out there. As long as he can continue to draw more than he takes, I'm all for it. Obviously, Trocheck plays a very head-down bruiser style of play, agitator. So I believe, was it him who got into it with Marchand about the Prius and the Lambo?
I don't remember.
I think it was. I think he
I
called.
remember Panarin threw the glove at him.
That was funny. I think Marchand called Trocheck a Prius.
I don't even know what that means.
It just I don't really know either. I'd have to go back and look at the context. But
I guess, Tony, to answer your question, it's really just the same players who keep taking these penalties. Just be more disciplined. A lot of these penalties that we have been taking are really dumb ones that could easily be avoided. And it's the same guys doing it all the time. So just be a little more careful when you're out on the ice. People, especially this season, might claim that the refs are against the Rangers. I've seen that a lot on the internet recently. I don't know if I'd go that far to say that, but there's always been a lot of goals taken back for the Rangers. But I think most
after the last game, I can't even try to make that argument. I thought that was a trip.
I said this once earlier when I recorded with Tony, and I'm going to say it again. That overtime goal the Rangers scored, it looked like it was right after a trip on someone on the Rangers.
They got gift wrapped that one. So as long as they go both ways.
On video review, I looked at every angle of that. I watched multiple videos of people breaking it down. I don't remember who it was on Vancouver, but he tripped over nothing. There was not a single contact with a Ranger player on that trip. I'm just you're gonna take my word for it.
I have to, because I was in Nashville. I was walking into a bar and they just happened to have the game on, and they scored. And I was like, yes! I didn't even know we were in overtime. Last I checked, it was a tie game. I think it was going into the third was the last time I was able to check the score. It was just such a madhouse where I was. I didn't even know that we had scored 2. They had scored 2. I believe it was 1-1 on the last I checked. So crazy to see us come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good game. It was back and forth. Definitely not perfect by any means by the Rangers, but I'm happy we were able to do it. It was very frustrating when the NHL and the Rangers and everyone on social media is posting the highlight reel goal, like the overtime winner, and all the comments are like, so funny you include the trip in the goal. I'm like, but you look at it, if you actually take a look, he didn't get tripped. He just fell, but it's whatever.
I have to give it a look.
We can move on. Tony says, where's Will? He's my favorite. He was in the chat at one point, and then he left.
He must have heard you were coming, Tony, and he skipped town.
I guess so. Francesca River-Gallant playing an injured, redacted, and sitting Paco. We don't say that name on this channel.
I do remember that, though, and that was one of the most frustrating things. Just because Kako had not been playing poorly, in my opinion, he would have been better than playing an injured Strome, who would continuously go on to disappoint us in more and more surprising fashions with each game. So, he just Gallant didn't do enough, and that's why he's no longer here. And they always say after the third year that he loses his teams.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I got a rival here in the chat. Good name, Eric, although we'd need to work on the spelling. Fun fact, when I was born, my dad wanted to spell my name with a K, but my mom said no. So if you have any problems with my name, you can blame my mother. See what we got here. Michael says, I think entire NHL penalties are up. They announced they would be extra tough on stick to hands. Seem like they are. I mean, yeah, slashing, especially in the hands. That's how I broke my hand playing hockey. It was one of my very good friends slashed my hand. It wasn't Collin or anyone on the Fireside Rangers teams. He's a Lightning fan. Slashed my hand and it fractured the whole thing down my wrist. So I get it. It's just not fun. You don't want to have that happen to you. So if the NHL is going to crack down on it, I think that's one of those penalties that they don't really. It's not a problem for them to crack down on. It's not like hitting or goalie interference or one of these controversial ones. Just don't slash hands. If it happens, call it,
I think that they got to just be consistent with it. I think that happened so far, but I think that there's been a couple softies that I've seen where it's just a tap that I wouldn't consider a slash, and they'll call it a hook or things like that. But as long as I guess they're being consistent across the league, I can't really complain that much about it. It's just the inconsistencies like the goaltender interference and the hitting and things like that you mentioned prior that drive me insane because there's just no one or like the kick, that Will Cooley goal. I saw a thing on Twitter.
Vegas
It was like,
scored against us,
yeah,
right?
Mark Stone kicking it in and the Flames guy kicking it in, and then they show Cooley who doesn't even know the puck's there. How can you kick something you don't know was there? Like it's not intentional. It clearly isn't intentional. Whereas these guys are turning their skate, and I guess I know you can angle it, but moving their skate towards it in a kicking motion, and they'll let it go for them. But then Cooley just standing there, they call it, I don't know, frustrating.
Yeah. Hold up. I got a Francesca, wait. Puck drop isn't in less than 10. The game's at 7:30, which means 7:40 puck drop. She might be gone, but
She wants to be early. Yeah, I respect it.
I do respect it.
Getting her popcorn, getting ready.
Yeah. I know we said we were going to wrap up around 7. I want to go another like 10 minutes. We got a lot of people in here. So everyone who's joining us here in the chat, at this point, start dropping your final score predictions, and I'll have them flash across the screen as we wrap up in a few. I just want to like rapid fire through these remaining comments. Do you think that'll turn out that Lafreniere is a better right wing than left wing? I don't think it was the position that was the problem. I think it was just like the line where he was down on the third line left wing. So he just didn't receive a lot of ice time. He wasn't playing with other goal scorers other than like the kid line, which was very like half and half of if it was going to be good or bad. But the right wing is giving him the opportunity to play with Panarin and Hedl up in the top 6. So for that reason alone, yes, I think it will benefit him and he will be better. But I don't think it's because of the side of ice he's on. It's just where he's stationed in the roster, you know. Collin.
Oh, my bad. I was reading the comments.
Okay.
I think a guy of his talent, I mean, when you take a guy first overall, he should be able to play on either side. I don't think that it can limit him. Obviously, it's a little bit of a change. But generally speaking, it's the same position, just flipped. So, I think that it's more so the ice time, as you mentioned, playing with more skilled players. I know he was playing with Hedl last year, but Panarin, as we've mentioned, is one off to an all-world start, but he's also just like he's good for 90-plus points every year. So obviously that's going to help not only gain your confidence, but boost your level of play and your ability to finish pucks because Panarin has a way of putting the puck in the tiniest of holes and help you just to make tap-in plays.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Tony's back in the chat responding to a Big Fuzz comment saying that someone will be gone tomorrow. Tomorrow is the NFL trade deadline. So if you happen to be a fan of the New York Giants, be sure to go subscribe to Fireside Giants over on YouTube here, where Tony is one of the lead hosts there as well. I got you, Tone. I'll shout you out while you're here. Let's see. Pavel, time for beer. It might just be time. It might be that.
I like that idea, Pavel. That's exactly where I'm headed.
Let's see. Francesca apologizes. It's okay, Francesca. I just wanted to make sure that you could stay for as long as possible in the stream. Anthony, our other co-host, predicts a 3-1 Rangers victory. He's saying a big showing from Igor Shesterkin, and the goal scorers will be Artemi Panarin, Alexei Lafreniere, and Mika Zibanejad. That sounds like a perfect game to me. Bug Fuzz with a very bold prediction, 7-1. I hope
blow him out.
I hope that's a Rangers victory and not a Jets one.
He's gonna have them scoring more points than the Jets did in regulation, or minus the last minute, I guess. Let's see if the Winnipeg Jets can outscore the New York Jets.
Carter Alcabes says he agrees 3-1. I think that might be the fan favorite score prediction going on right now. Michael quickly says Rangers are number 2 in goals against per game right now. If the scoring gets going, we will be dangerous. Let's go 3-1 again. Everyone's calling for that 3-1 victory. Logan, he's a little different. 4-2 Rangers empty net. If we're up only by 1 going for the empty net, I'd be a little nervous. I like the 3-1 a little bit more because that sounds safer.
Logan, I agree with you, man. I think it's going to be a close game. I think that Scheifele and Connor will score. They always find a way to do it. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game, but I can see 4-2. I want to be different with Logan. So I'll get on that bandwagon.
Eric asked really quickly, what's the Lafreniere's contract situation? If he has a great year, is there a chance they won't be able to keep him next year? It's a tough one because he's tenured for this season and next season. It's a 2-year bridge deal. I think he will be fine. I think there's certain players who are on these bridge deals where we're kind of in the mode where we're like, well, don't be too good because then we have to pay you more. But I don't think Lafreniere is one of those players we have to worry about. I'm sure that after this season, we'll sign him to like a 5 or 6 year deal worth like $5 or $6 million, maybe like a 5x5 or a 6x6, depending on how he grows and develops. Still a little too early into the contract to be sure. Collin, if you have any extra thoughts on that.
Yeah, I can see them signing him soon just to get it done. Obviously, they need to move some money around because the cap being pretty much stagnant makes it harder. It'd have to be a backloaded contract just to make the money work, I believe. But I can see them signing him to a longer deal and giving him not like a Jack Hughes level deal. I think he signed like an 8x8. But I could see him signing like a 5x5 for sure. I think there's a little bit of risk that comes with that, though, and I'd like to see how he does at the end of this year before I give him any guaranteed money.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you there. Wayne does say strive for 5. Good little poke at the Islanders. Let's go Rangers. I agree. I'll leave up Tony's comment. Apparently, we're drunkards that deserve likes, even though neither of us are drinking. But
Yeah,
it will. That'll probably change within the next 20 minutes. I would have to assume, right, Collin?
I think it's a 5-minute drive to where I'm going, so give me 10.
All right. So yeah, we'll start to wrap things up over here. I guess we never gave our official score predictions. I guess you kind of agree that you think it'd be close, but I might have to hop on the bandwagon and just say 3-1. I like that. I think Igor's going to play great. I don't know if he'll pull off the shutout, but I'm just going to knock on wood because I said the word. I keep jinxing this stream. I don't know what's going on. Final score prediction 3-1. Panarin hat trick on his birthday. That's my final prediction.
That'd be crazy.
What is yours?
4-2.
You just agreeing with 4-2?
I'm sticking with it. I think we got Chytil, Zibanejad, Panarin. I think obviously Mika's going to be on the power play. I think Panarin assists both of them, gets his own goal, and then I think we see a third or fourth line goal for the empty netter. One of those guys who are grinding it out gets rewarded with a net goal. Bald Nino.
Bald Aaron. But all right, that about wraps up this live stream. We're about 20 minutes away from game time, so we'll start to wrap things up. Thank you to everyone who joined us this stream. I know we had a lot of viewers in the chat today. That always makes me and Collin very happy to see, to be able to answer and chat with you guys and all your questions, comments, and concerns. We'll be back tomorrow for the Halloween special, putting out there a second time. So now we have to do it because I announced it on live internet. So
no walking it back.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. As for now, make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a notification. And after the game, throughout the game, make sure to come back to this video and leave your thoughts and comments about the game. Make sure you subscribe to all of our social medias at Fireside Rangers on both Instagram and X, as we'll be posting game updates throughout the entire game tonight. So yeah, happy Halloween out there, and we'll be back tomorrow. Have a good one, and
let's go Rangers.